Yeah, I just want to say that thank you, Rahul, for making this, because from media the labor beat has disappeared altogether. It's as if there's no strife and workers are happily working away in factories now in this new India. And I think just documenting this, because in Delhi maybe there was more coverage, in the Bombay papers there was very little coverage. Some magazines carried long form articles, but they were sporadic. So when we have a sense of that whole period, I think the other thing you brought out very well is the whole issue of land acquisition, which is so current now. And then again, that is another issue in which you only hear the politics of it. You don't see the reality of what actually happens when land is acquired, including what that woman was saying. They build those houses and then pigeons come and live in them. And we've seen this in so many places, and yet there's very little of this kind of reportage and documentation. So I think in terms of just understanding the changes that are taking place in India, I think this is a very important film, because it's brought in the whole thing of the working class and their struggles, but within this larger framework, as you say, of the collusion between the state and the corporates. But also the whole judiciary, I mean, that is a constant subject that comes up, where if you're part of a working class, no matter how good your defense may be, you really stand no chance in this kind of situation. So the sad thing is you feel rather hopeless at the end of it all, because we know what's happening in this country, and how are we going to break this nexus? I mean, I don't know. A future film for you, Rahul.
Because in Delhi, it was not so much the mainstream media which was commenting on Maruti, but it was the sort of the social media which had been very sort of deeply involved in the Maruti struggle from 2011 onwards. So, and because a lot of students and from all the universities were very closely associated with the struggle from 2011. So there was always a parallel kind of underground reporting on what was happening on the Maruti front. But the silence on the mainstream media was kind of deafening, actually. And that was, for me, really the starting point, because 2012, when the incident happened, and there was a series of reports in that 1 week, and pretty sort of high-powered programs, including We the People on NDTV and Big Fight and all that. It was really strange to see these programs with the representatives of the management. There are some middle-class activists. There are relatives and friends of this manager who unfortunately died, and of course journalists and corporate commentators, various people, but not one worker. There's just complete absence of the voice of the workers, which to me was really something which just showed how desperate the situation was. And of course the fact that we've stopped making films on the working class. It's just completely gone out of fashion completely. What happened was that he got hit on his leg, and he was asthmatic, and he was hiding under a table. He wasn't actually, the medical legal, the autopsy report is that he died of asphyxiation because of the smoke, and he didn't die of an injury. So that is the sort of medical position on it.
I'd like to get into this, the point where, when did you actually decide that the film was ready to be told? What was the ending process like? Because this is like an ongoing process, and also to link it in a way, there was, I mean, from what I read, there were 70 odd people who got released, and were there, I mean, did this include the people the families that you showed in your film? And did you at any point of time think that you should, like, because this is why I'm asking, what was the ending process like, that you should probably go back and film that as well?
That's the problem in India. If you're following a case, there is no end in sight. So you never know how many you could shoot for, maybe 10 years, and even then the case would be going on. So it's very difficult to actually make a film which is entirely driven by a case which is going on here. And here, actually, because of an order from the Supreme Court, it came onto a fast track system. So there were hearings, at one stage there were hearings 2 hearings every month, then it became 1 hearing every week for those 29 witnesses that the Supreme Court ordered need to be finished off with. But I knew that somewhere I had to stop, and I knew that it couldn't be because of something that happened, because it was not that anything dramatic was happening. There was this, relentless sort of hearings that were going on and on and on. So I decided that on the anniversary of 2014, I would stop filming, and that's when I stopped filming, which was almost the last sort of thing that you see. And it was a decision made because I knew I needed a lot of time to edit the kind of material I had and make sense of it. So I just stopped at that point.
I'm actually studying a very similar case. I wouldn't say very similar. I'm doing my architectural thesis. It's my final year. So I was in Sanand last week itself for the Tata Nano project. It's what I would like to ask. It's a very similar situation because there's a village again behind. They're not given they're given half of the pay. No villages are allowed in the factory. But I would like to just ask, did you get any side from, like, did you try to ask the Maruti side of it also? Because I've personally got the most ridiculous answers from Tata, because the problem is they're shifting next year to Sangur, Kolkata. And the people whose land they have taken and paid only half of the money, they don't even have an idea about this. Like, it was like, they told me, you're the first person to tell us that this is going to happen. So their cases are already working. There's no idea that Tata is shifting. What will happen to their money? Land, will they get it back? No idea. But Tata, one official I would like to tell was, one of the managers actually told me to just keep quiet and please don't spread these rumors. I'll make it something that you have announced. It's not me. No, we are not going to do this. So I would like to ask, what was the response from the Maruti side?